Welcome to the York County Government Show. I'm Deb Gruber, Morrison County Administrator, and today I'm joined by Tammy Bengtson, Morrison County United Way Executive Director. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what the Morrison County United Way is.
Sure.
First, I just want to start with, it's not exactly a part of Morrison County.
Not exactly. We're not a line item on the budget in any way, shape, or form. And we don't receive county funds. But the employees of the government center are very generous. They run an internal campaign, a workplace campaign, in which they're able to make a cash or check donation or choose to do payroll deduction, which they can do anywhere from $1 up to the amount of their choice, and it just comes right out of their check. And it's a nice way for them to be able to give and not have to write out a check every time. So.
Exactly, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we give to United Way and what happens there, but essentially Morrison County United Way is named that because it serves really all of Morrison County.
Yes, we do. Okay. We serve all of the populations in Morrison County, and we specialize in income, education, and senior services.
All right. Different areas that actually, you know, kind of support a lot of the folks that as county government we serve also. So I think it is, while not a part of and a line item for the county government aspect, I think there's a lot of, I don't know, lines that are crossed, so to speak, in terms of the work that you support and the agencies or the nonprofits that you support through Morrison County United Way really help and play a part in those that we serve in their lives.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the different types of components. You talked about, say it again.
We have income,
okay,
and we have education.
Okay.
We also have senior services, just to help people who are aging live in place, stay in their homes. We support education through our Imagination Library program, and then we also help the foster grandparent program here in the county. Okay. And they have mostly K-3 mentors that go right into the schools and help children that aren't learning or aren't reading up to grade level.
Okay. So Morrison County United Way doesn't do the different activities, but you support the organizations that do.
Correct.
Okay.
So for instance, we work with Kinship, we work with Oasis, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, but the only program that we actually administer out of the office is the Imagination Library program. And I think we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Yeah, let's do that. You know, it is interesting. I used to sit on the Morrison County United Way board, so I'm a little familiar with the organization and what happens and how it works. So if I'm not mistaken, there's an annual campaign that you run. So we run a campaign, we raise some funds, and then there's a process that you and a group of folks use to be able to distribute those funds. Maybe talk a little bit about that process for us.
Yes, so our campaign will actually kick off on September 1st. So we'll be getting information out to all of our campaign managers, and they generally either run an internal campaign or a workplace campaign, much like the county does. And then once we get those funds in, we look at that and we see how much then we can re-grant out. And so we go through an allocations process in February and March, and then we grant out some of that money, a large portion of it, actually about 75%, back out to smaller nonprofits like Oasis and Kinship and the ones that I mentioned. And we have 16 partners in Hall. So the rest of the funds then are used for the Imagination Library program, and then a small percent, about 6 or 7% for administration. So a real low overhead for us.
Very much so, and I think that's an important message that I know that I always try to convey when I was a board member and now as somebody who contributes and supports United Way, that it is very low administrative costs. And I think when some see that 75% go to those organizations, they forget about the vast majority of the remaining is to fund the Imagination Library.
Yes, yes, that's a $36,000 program all on its own. And that makes sure that children from birth to 5 can get a free book every month sent right to their home. And it helps them to build their library of books, reminds parents every month when they get it in the mail to sit down and read with their child, because of course everybody is excited to get mail when you're 5, you know.
Oh, it is so exciting to get mail.
It is. And so it's a fantastic program. And, you know, some of the Wilder Foundation, for example, here in Minnesota, they've done some studies that are showing that 80 to 85% of our children that are going into kindergarten are not ready for kindergarten. And then there's about 25% that are just kind of on the cusp, but really a solid 60%, they're going into kindergarten and they're not ready literacy-wise. And so this is just our way of trying to get some books into the hands of the young people here in Morrison County.
And that's been a very successful program. I'm trying to think back of when that started. It's been a long time now.
It has, yeah, I'm not going to say exactly when, because I don't think I've been able to narrow it down to exactly when it started. I've only been here about a year myself.
Yes.
But I do know that we have graduated over 1,900 children from the program. We're getting really, really close to 2,000, so we're going to do a big splash when that happens.
Well, we should do that. And I'm trying to think if I was maybe on the board or just barely on it when that program started. I can't recall, but it is such a good thing. The Dollywood Foundation started that program and expanded out to mostly United Way's run it or not. I don't even know.
You know, I think that mostly United Way's are affiliates when I just kind of scanned throughout the United States, and now it's actually international.
Oh, wow.
And so the Dollywood, Dolly Parton Foundation, they actually provide the books, all of them. And supposedly her and her very small team pick out these books, and they're always age appropriate, so it's nice. Because you always want your child to be increasing their words and vocabulary and such. And then we pay strictly the postage. But when you have, 1,900 kids and you're sending out a book every month, it does add up fast.
It does
It's about $36 a child per year.
$36 a child per year, and I've always thought that was a nice thing too. If you're not a general supporter of Morrison County United Way, which we hope folks are because of all of the different agencies that you can touch with those dollars, which I've always found impressive. But $36 a year will fund one child to receive a book.
Yep, 12 books.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's a neat thing, and I think that's something that we need to remind folks of, that that's a way to give that really, really produces results, I think.
Yes, and it's nice that when you give to United Way, you can designate your gift. Imagination Library, Hunger, Income Resources, any one of our partners. And I think that it's just a nice way to kind of know as a donator where your money, where your dollars are going. If you feel strongly about something, we can usually make that happen. So.
And I think that's a good thing too. I mean, we all have our
passion?
Passion, that's a great word, and the causes that we like to support, and I think that's excellent. This is just yet one more way that you could touch on either those specific areas or something that you may not have thought of before, or a way, if it's not designated, to really allow folks like you and those allocation folks to make decisions about where that dollar really is needed.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing.
Yes, and when people submit a grant to us, I mean, they have to have measurable outcomes. They have to kind of tell us where they're going to use the money and how, and we hold them accountable. And so if you are looking to make a donation, but you're just really not sure where or who to donate to or who's using the money appropriately, our 16 partners are well vetted. I go through all the grants myself. I've written federal grants, state grants, local grants, and so I know kind of what we're looking for, to fit our, like you said, our passion too.
And I think that's a good thing for people to know, because unless you're very, very familiar with an organization, you really don't know, are they spending that money appropriately? Do you have costs that you wouldn't have to have? Are you meeting the needs of whatever your mission is? Things of that nature. And that's what United Way does. That's what somebody like you does for folks that want to have that, make that donation, want to be philanthropic and really support their community. So it's good to know that. And it's a low administrative cost. It really is when we keep it quite local.
It is, and when you consider that, a portion even of that 8% goes to training the board and the allocations committee and myself, so that we can make sure that we're staying up on the rules and the regulations of granting. Really 98% of it is staying right in the county. So, it's
a big deal. That's
it is.
Good.
It's a big deal to know that the dollars are staying here where we live.
Yes, exactly. And actually, I think do the organizations, are they spread out quite a bit? If I remember right, different areas of the county also, or the nonprofits are located in different areas, aren't they?
We do, although most of them are housed here or, in the Little Falls area. But they do serve, and I don't have the numbers with me, but we do serve across the county. I mean, we're serving rural Morrison County. You know, we're in Swanville, we're in Upsala, we're in Piers, we're in some of those smaller communities that are telling us that they need help. You know, they need books for their kids. We need healthy resources for seniors. You know, they're coming to us and saying we need help and to serve the people here. So we're making that happen.
Yeah, and I know just even, I think the chaplain who serves all of Morrison County is supported by United Way. The Imagination Library, obviously, with all of the kids enrolled, and there aren't any geographical boundaries for that. Anybody's eligible within the county. So,
right.
Yeah, people are served when you don't even realize it sometimes, and some of that funnels through Morrison County United Way.
Yes, and even if you just look at Oasis, if Central Minnesota, I think is their new name now, and the sheer number of people that they're helping to, you know, serve a hot meal to once a week, or make sure that people are able to get food at a reasonable cost. You know, they're serving thousands of people every year.
They are.
And yes,
it is amazing. We don't recognize all the time the need that's right next door, or some of us. You know, in terms of, we know that there are folks out there listening, that there are services out there that can really, really help if you need it, and these are great resources. And then again, if you ever are in a position to be able to give back, is what that annual campaign is about. So you said you're starting in September. What are the types of things that you do to kick that off and to start a campaign?
We just started a new Facebook page. We're excited about that. But then we'll just be going out to the campaign managers, and really, they're wonderful people within our community. They take the program information and the forms, you know, to the people in their companies, and just make sure that those get filled out appropriately, getting them back to us, so that when, you know, we can administer the actual payroll process or the cash and check gifts that we receive. So we do rely heavily on our volunteers in the community, and if anybody's interested in volunteering, we can always use more help.
Yes, it is nice. You talked about payroll deduction, so you do have a process in which makes it quite easy for people to participate, and those organizations to participate, and allow their employees to participate.
Right. Most times if employees go to their company and say, you know, we really would like, we have more than a couple people who would like to donate, and we'd like to make it a payroll process. Generally, the payroll supervisor, whoever's in charge of the payroll at that company, they're already familiar with how to take, you know, taxes and different things out via lines, and so for them it's just adding that into their payroll process for the most part, and it's generally fairly simple to just get set up.
It is, and it really makes that whole process quite easy, and helps a lot of folks in a small way. So.
I know some people say, oh, you know, it's only $1, but $1 per payroll just adds up.
Yes.
You know, and every little bit helps here in the county. So
it does. You know, there's folks that may wonder, and sitting here with me and what we do at the county, don't my taxes, you know, help all of these folks? Don't my taxes that I pay help the less fortunate, or those that are struggling or whatnot? What do you respond in that?
I usually say that yes, a portion of our taxes does go to supporting the Health and Human Services portion of the Morrison County budget. You know, I agree with that. But I think that institutionally wise, they just can't do it all anymore. We need to help our neighbors. We need to support our neighbors, because honestly, it is the people living down your block. It's the people living, you know, a mile away, or some of your friends that you might not even realize need help, because they're not going to come to you and say they need help. And so that's what those dollars are used for.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I don't think government can do it all, and I don't think historically it ever has. We have communities taking care of each other when they're in need, or we've got mentors helping children in terms of being those mentors that show us how to live and be good citizens later on. We can't do that in county government. We do a lot of the very basic things that allow for survival maybe, or being able to have a certain quality of your life, but really doesn't step it up, and that's what these organizations really do. And so I think you're right in terms of it's important to fill that gap with different nonprofits in different areas.
Right. Even if you look at Kinship, wonderful, wonderful program. Aaron's housed right across from me, and I've had a chance to get to know him a little bit, and the program a little bit better. And I just look at some of what he's written in his grant, and how if you're a single parent, you know, you might have to work two part-time jobs or a full-time job and a part-time job, and then you have children who are spending a lot of time alone. Boys and Girls Club's helping to fill some of that gap as well, and we fund them in our allocations process too. And you know, I even just think about my own kids. You know, they get off school and I work until a certain time, and I don't like to really leave them alone during that time. So, I mean, those programs help to fill those gaps where the county can't really step in.
Yep,
in
exactly.
That situation.
Exactly, and boy, you've named off a lot of really positive and really important organizations that are funded through United Way. Now, you're governed by a board. I mentioned I previously was on the board. Talk a little bit about the role of the Morrison County United Way Board.
So the United Way Board is really set up to govern what happens in the office. They're not there on a day-to-day basis because they all have full-time jobs, but they are very supportive of our mission and how we want to set our goals and how we want to create outcomes that we can then share with the public. And so we're in the process now of doing some real groundwork for where we want to go in the near future, and what kind of goals we want to set, and how we want to show people that we're meeting them. And so I have some wonderful people on my board right now that help us to do that. So
good, and I think that is important because we have to expect that in terms of we need to, you know, recognize and need to show and need to illustrate what it is we're doing. Otherwise, folks aren't comfortable with the organization or aren't comfortable with what it provides, and it's a lot of good. So it's good that it's out there.
If you're going to donate your dollar, you want to see some kind of feedback on what happened with it. Yep. Personally, I do.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should expect that, and that's good you're working on that. So you're going to meet with campaign managers. You're going to identify and provide resources if possible in terms of educating folks, I would imagine, and then how does that wrap up, and what do you do from there?
From there, we generally also, when we put our information out, we'll be able to tell them what happened last time, you know, during the last year. And so we'll be able to provide some numbers about how many children were served, how many hot meals were served, how many seniors were served. And so that's really important for us to, like I said, be able to kind of qualify where the dollars are being spent. And then once the forms come back, we kind of put them in our database and we kind of go from there. Some people are billed monthly, some people are billed quarterly, some people do the payroll deduction. So that's all administered through our office. And when I say our office, I mean me.
Exactly.
So we just kind of go from there. And then also I kind of wanted to mention the 211 number.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if that was kind of in place when you were on the board or not, but
I think it was started, yes.
When we're talking about emergency services, we have people that are calling. I must get 4, 5, 6 calls a week for different things, especially after the storm. A lot of people didn't know where to turn, and when they didn't have electricity or their cell service was out, or you know, they didn't have some of the basic needs, water.
Yes.
And so we were able to use our 211 number. It's kind of like 911. It's statewide, and if you dial 211, you can get local information on housing, food, help with your electricity, just a plethora of services that might be needed. And it's a fantastic number to share if you know somebody who's in need. I just can't say enough about how compassionate the people are when they answer the phone. I kind of wanted to know what it was like myself, so I gave them a call and kind of set up a scenario for them. And I just talked to the most, like I said, compassionate woman that was able to share some information, and they're able to look up, you know, just so many services all around the state. So I really suggest that people try and use that number or share it with their friends.
That's a great reminder, a great bunch of information to share, because it doesn't necessarily have to be an emergency that you need something right now, or that it's life or death. However, there are a lot of things that people need to think through and say, oh, I know the end of the week's coming up. What am I going to do when I can't pay that rent? Or what am I going to do? Morrison County United Way doesn't provide that specific service.
No, we don't.
But through that 211, which I believe is funded in part,
Yes.
is
Yes.
one of those organizations
Yep.
that then the citizens of Morrison County can be supported by, and they look up the phone numbers for the different places that do offer that direct support.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yes. Yes. And I think it's important to remember that good people run into difficult situations.
Yes, exactly.
And so it's fair to say that they should have somebody who can help them out with a situation and give them some direction. Go from there.
Exactly, and I think that's a very, very good point. And kind of when we talked a little bit about some of the different organizations that are supported, it's, the chaplain supports everybody, no matter their social class, their economic status, their religion, their whatever it might be. Everybody gets supported by that. And we don't even realize that sometimes. Or some of the other organizations too are really all over the place. It's not just when you're there in need yourself. It's about supporting a community and all of us.
Right.
So.
And I can't say enough about Greg Valentine as the Morrison County chaplain. I didn't especially know exactly what he did when I started in this position, so I called him up and we had a conversation, because I just kept hearing around the county how dedicated he was to his job and how he was there when people needed him, and when children go through difficult situations, fires, floods, whatever, that he's so passionate about what he does. And there are a good number of his supporters that just choose to give to his program through the United Way, and I'm really happy about that, because he's just, I just can't say enough good stuff about him.
He does a lot, and it's amazing once you start learning more about all of these organizations and how they impact lives. And what I like also, not only is it, those in need, but it's anywhere from infants to elderly. I mean, it really, the United Way can really help funnel those dollars to support all of life through all of the different cycles, through all of the different situations and things like that. So it is good. It's very good. What about folks that give directly to organizations versus going through the United Way? How do you manage those conversations?
You know what, we love it when people are philanthropic.
Yes.
I mean, whether you're going to give to United Way or you're going to give directly to a 501c3, I always suggest that people make sure that their favorite, nonprofit is really a nonprofit.
Yep.
You want to make sure that they're a 501c3, because then they have some governance to them. But I always just say that if you have found something that you're passionate about and you want to help that nonprofit, do it. If it's something through the United Way, great. If it's something else that you need help with and you just don't know how to make that connection, call me and let me know. We'll make the connection.
And I think that's great, because you're right. Any way that the community can support the community, I think, is what we need to do.
Right.
All right. Well, anything else? Any final thoughts?
No, just to make sure and check out our new website.
Yes.
And I think we're going to list that up, but it's www.unitedwayofmc.org.
Okay.
Brand new, mobile friendly, so we're pretty excited. And yes, check us out.
So either look for your employer or look to a direct donation if you're willing and able, and everything is greatly appreciated, that I know.
Absolutely.
And so is your work. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Deb.
And thank you for joining us for the Your County Government Show, which is aired Fridays at 2 p.m. and Saturdays at 7 p.m. on Charter Channel 180.